You are joining conversations with extraordinary women, sharing stories of the inspirational women among us. So, my name is Dr. Andrea Niestas. I am a community psychologist, a wellness coach and speaker, psychology professor, mental health advocate, amongst other things. I provide coaching and workshops for emotional well being, life fulfillment, and thriving workplaces. You can find me online at lifecoachingbyandrea.com, as well as on social media by the same name, Life Coaching by Andrea. And today we are going to be talking to an extraordinary woman who I would like to share her inspirational story with you all. And with that, I would like to welcome for episode 1, Sofia Rios. And we are just going to jump right into it. Well, welcome, Sofia. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to just introduce Sofia, let everyone know how we know each other. So we are acquaintances. I actually don't know your full story, so I am very interested to hear it along with everybody else here for the first time.
Mhm.
So we know each other from church. I know that we both love mac and cheese. Um, and what else? Oh, we have both recently had some surgeries due to some medical complications. So you, on one hand, are rather young. I, on the other hand, am rather not young anymore. So I thought that it would be good for people to hear your story, being on the younger end and having maybe some medical issues or situations that lead to difficulties in life. And so maybe other people can kind of relate to that and would like to hear that. So I asked Sofia if she would be willing to be a guest here on this interview show. I wanted to, I actually had, so there was somebody else that I had asked to join, and that sort of fell through. And then because I had a target date of when to release the episode, I was like getting a little bit like frantic, like I'm not going to make the date. And I had kind of had like a list of like 10 people, and I was like, oh, what do I do? Who should I ask next? And for some reason, I have to tell you, Sophia doesn't even know this yet. For some reason, Sophia came up
Mhm.
like 3 times in one day.
Mhm.
Different things brought her up, and I said, I think I think Sophia is meant to be on the show. So I'm going to ask her, and I was very fortunate that she said yes, that she would be willing to do the show. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sophia. And I know that you, like I mentioned,
Mhm.
you had some surgeries recently. So I will let you go as far back as you want to sort of just telling us what that was about, when maybe that first started for you,
Mhm.
and when you knew that you might have to have the said surgeries.
Okay, yeah. So, starting off, I'm having surgeries because I have hip dysplasia, which basically means that the in your hips, your socket and your bone are not perfectly fitting. So it's like either too shallow, it's too rubbing against. And for me, that was my case. It was rubbing too much against the socket because it was just not fitting right. So that started causing tears in my cartilage and my labrum. And even before all this, it's still really painful to have hip dysplasia while you're walking, sitting, standing, any of those for long periods of time. It's recognizable. A lot of people find it out when they're like playing soccer or running, or they have the a cartilage tear. I have always known I have hip dysplasia. I was born with it. So as soon as, they do the checkups on the babies, the doctor immediately felt that my bone was completely out of the socket. And it was a lot of back and forth of trying to have surgery because there is a different surgery for it. Back 20 years ago, there was a surgery that put the femur bone back into the socket without, um, just because you're a baby, you can have it placed right. or you can have a brace. So there was always a back and forth of me getting surgery when I was younger, but for some reason, every time surgery was scheduled, something happened. Like the doctor was sick, I was sick, the weather was bad, like it was just like not safe to travel. So, and then eventually they found that my bone started to move back on its own and find its natural place there. And just to enforce it, I would wear a brace. So it would go like around my waist and then stick my legs out kind of that way. So make sure if it's going in, it's going in the right way. Um, and that works for some people, and for some people, hip dysplasia is most common in girls. I believe I I think it's one out of wait, not one out of five. 4 out of 5 people with dysplasia are female. Um, so that, yeah, it's a lot of, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And for me, it did at the moment, till fast forward till I'm in junior high, being active, starting PE and stuff, then I start feeling it. Um, as I'm running, as I'm sitting in class for long periods of time. And sure enough, they're like, yeah, your hip dysplasia, you have hip dysplasia on both sides and not just the one like I was born with, which is still super common for it to be bilateral. Um, so we're just keeping an eye on that. But again, there's not much to do for hip dysplasia because my surgeries that I'm having now are still fairly new. And at that time, these surgeries are just coming out. But these are new surgeries. People here are not having them because I believe it's in Colorado where they started doing these surgeries at. Um, and I'm not an extreme case because some people, that angle of where their bone is at the socket is really bad and needs immediate attention. And I was more on the mild side. So because of that, I was like, kind of like, oh, it'll get better. Like with time, it'll get better. And still, like me still participating in sports and sitting in class for a long time, it just continually got worse. So we just started taking preventive measures of I would.
Did you have a lot of pain at that point?
Yes, at that point, I remember it was, it took a while to figure it out. I was like, I'm just having groin pain and like in my pelvic area. And sometimes it'll be one side and sometimes it'll be the other side. And we went to a doctor and immediately he was like, did you have hip dysplasia when you were born? We were like, yeah. And sure enough, it was, um, they did scans and I had bilateral hip dysplasia since I was getting older and like since I'm in junior high. So I'm like 12, 13 at this point, and my growth plates are rubbing against that bone too. So that was extremely painful. And they were just, at first, we were kind of hoping it was just the growth plates kind of messing around down there.
Mhm.
So that's why. I just stopped doing PE. While other kids were running, I would walk half of what they were running, even playing softball. Just knew to take it easy on me because I would walk to the bases instead of run. Um, what else? Just stuff like that. And I was in physical therapy for 3 years. And we did have a couple of issues with the insurance just because they're like, well, you should be fine. Like, I'm not recovering from this major surgery.
Mhm.
It's mild hip dysplasia. Like, I'm fine. I don't really need physical therapy. But the physical therapy did help me. It helped me so much. And like, my physical therapist sometimes, like while I'm having all these doctors, I was saying like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like my physical therapist believed me and she advocated for me and she would like email the doctors themselves. She needs this test, she needs that test, and all that stuff. I would always be grateful for her. Um,
So is it possible that if you had a surgery earlier or had treatment earlier, you still would need surgery later because of that growth and that shifting?
Yeah, so she was a physical therapist and she was advocating for like a different type of surgery than eventually got. So she believed that my hip dysplasia was causing pinches and within the bones and stuff. And so there is a surgery for that, but the doctors weren't set on that. And since I was so young, it was no, like nobody wanted to touch me. I was 13, 14 by this time, and the doctors are like, maybe when you're older, and just maybe like you just have to wait. So it's like all the way up till I'm 16, I'm still taking like going to physical therapy twice a week. And at this point, I'm swimming for a sport, and the water helped me so much. That was the only sport that I felt like, I could actually be a participate in and be involved in, except for breaststroke. First, I'm just bad at it, and like the second, it was just not good for my hips. So my coaches were always understanding too, and just like, oh, you can do freestyle or do what helps makes you more comfortable. Plus, I was better at the other strokes, so I need more practice in that. Um, so yeah, all the way up to 16, they kept saying the same thing, like you're too young to actually do something, and your case is mild, so it's not um, immediate attention that it needs to do surgery right now. They even sent it to Colorado where they were doing this big surgery, but it got denied, saying like I'm too young for it, and I'm it's not at extreme that we need to do something right now.
And
Um,
were you okay with that, or were you hoping that they were willing to do more?
Oh no, it was frustrating. It was so frustrated because again, like I couldn't do simple stuff like participate in PE. I couldn't um go out like or do sports that I would like. And then I guess I love swimming, but even when everybody was doing laps before we got into the pool, I was sitting out just doing stretches. So and then the pain's a whole different story of just constantly being with me. If I take certain steps, it hurts. If I'm sitting, walking, standing for too long, more than an hour, I can't even take car rides for more than 2 hours without being in pain. So I just had to learn to manage it. So when they told me no, by that time, I was like, I'm done with my doctor's appointments. I'm just going to be living life how I know what's comfortable for me and like always making adjustments. Um, and that's what I end up doing. And like always, everybody around me was aware, and everybody around me was super understanding. It's also meeting new people, like going into college, explaining it to my roommates. They didn't understand it at first until I had like my um, moments where I like my really bad days, and then they really stood up for me. Like, okay, if I one of my roommates, we shared a class together. She was like, I'll take notes for you. Don't worry about going to class. Um, or I used a lot of icy hot patches, and so I can't put them on right, so she'll help me put it on and stuff. So I was really grateful for her for helping me in those moments. Um, but as I'm in college and I'm walking to class every day and I'm not swimming every day because that's not a sport over there, and my hips pain just got worse. No matter how much I rest, how much medication I took, I started getting injections too for it. At a certain point, they just stopped working. And one night, I just tried to go to the bathroom and my hips just locked up. And that's really common. So the locking and popping, just when you're trying to stand, I couldn't move for the longest time. And I called my parents. And I was like, I mean, I can't do this anymore. It's progressively getting worse since the last time we saw the doctors and stuff. So we made an appointment. And as soon as they saw me, they're like, okay, like, because it was the same doctors that we saw back when I was in junior high,
Mhm.
um, 14, 15 years old. Um, and so he was like, "Okay, you're ready for this surgery. Like I got an MRI, and then that's where we found out my hip dysplasia was causing these tears in like the labrum and cartilage area, and to prevent it getting worse, because we don't once it tears, there's a possibility of bone on bone. That's we're trying to prevent that completely.
Mhm.
But he was like, I'll do this surgery because the labrum surgery is about 6 weeks recovery on crutches, outpatient. It's super simple. Uh, it's still surgery nonetheless, so it still takes a toll on the body. But that's what I wanted to hear. I was like, oh, a small procedure. Okay, and then I can go back living life after a month. Um, but he told me if he was going to do the small surgery, I would have to get the bigger surgery, which is a whole hip reconstruction surgery, a PAO. I cannot pronounce the name. It's like potassium I can't pronounce it, but the abbreviation is a PAO surgery, and that's the hip reconstruction. Because he said if I didn't get the hip reconstruction, then my hip dysplasia would just be keep causing these tears. So I would be in his office every 3 years just for a new tear repair. Um,
So
and
before I ask you about the surgeries,
yeah.
I want to go back a little bit because you said that in high school things were so hard as far as not being able to do PE and some of the, other things that came along with that. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that like especially teenagers, like
Mhm.
emotions are always like amplified and their experiences are more difficult. And, having to deal with everybody in school is just, we forget what it's like once we're like older, and,
Yes.
and remembering what it's like in the moment can be really hard. So can you tell us what that part was like for you?
Yeah, so in high school is when it started getting worse. And like in my PE class specifically, since that's a physical education class, that's where I was dealing with it all the time. Um, it was a class of 40 kids, I believe. And I had my close friends, and like sometimes I'd take a step and they're like, "Are you okay?" Like if it popped and everybody heard it. And so they were like aware. But then of course there was other people who didn't even bother talking to me and like, oh, she's not walking. Like, why are you walking? You're walking because you're lazy. It's like, I'm not walking. You don't even know why I'm walking compared to everybody. Because we ran a lot in that, well, everybody ran a lot in that class. And I was the one person not. It's funny, one time I did have somebody ask me, "Are you doing it to get the teacher mad?" And I was like, "No, I'm just doing it like because of my hip dysplasia." And once like those people who actually took the time to talk to me about it understood, but not everybody's like that. So that was frustrating and just dealing with the looks or the comments of just like, oh, you're lazy. Oh, like I wish could be you, but look, the teacher has us doing this. It's not my fault. So that was frustrating. Also, just being in class, there would be times where, like I could said, the lockups would happen, and I had a 504, so that prevented me from walking in PE, but it also let me to step outside of the classroom anytime I needed, just to stretch out my legs. Because it's also, even though hip dysplasia is a bone and issue, your muscles are taking the extent of it. My muscles are trying to make up my back problems, especially. My back is always trying to make up for my extremely weak muscles and my extremely weak hips. So I'm always having to stretch, move around, pop my hips. Um, so there would be times in class where I just like asked the teacher, like, can I step out? And I remember this one time, it was like I was outside for a while just stretching and just panicking because I'm like, I just want to be in class. I don't want to be out here worrying about it. And there was no windows, but somehow the teacher knew to send out my friend. So she just stood outside with me the whole time. And like, I had a lot of people throughout my whole hip dysplasia. It's like, even just them being there means so much to me, just because just giving me that patience that I didn't always have for myself. Like, I just wanted to hurry up and get better to get to the next thing. Um, Especially as a teenager. And a little now I'm impatient, but um, that they helped me learn patience and give myself grace when it came to that. Um, so yeah, yeah, I had dealt with a little here and there, but it was definitely the people around me who kind of motivated me. It's like, it's okay. Like, you can take a breather, you could take the time you need. And like, always, like, if there was a seat and there's like one seat left, but still a lot of people standing, they're like, oh, Sophia needs that seat. And so I just appreciated the people in my life like that. Because again, as a teenager, I'm not patient. I just want to get
Mhm.
with the next thing. And the same with like my whole hip dysplasia. I was really frustrated that I just couldn't, do the simple stuff. And it's like you don't know how much you miss the simple stuff until you can't do it. Um, that was,
I know that for sure.
yeah.
So, the um, so the most recent surgeries that you had, are those the only surgeries that you had on your hips?
Yes, these are because when I was younger, you're growing a lot between the ages of like 0 to 18, so nobody really wanted to touch me. And for this type of surgery, where labor and surgeries you could do earlier, it's really common in soccer, just type of sports that are hard on your joints and stuff. But again, I wasn't doing anything. It was just my hip dysplasia causing it. Um, but the PAO surgery is ideally done between the ages of 18 and 25. But by the time I was 18, I didn't didn't even want to go to the doctors for my hips. I was already so frustrated of the constant no, no, no. I didn't even want to. I wanted to have my own life at that moment and like
Okay.
away from
So
doctors.
at that point when you're 18,
Hmm.
describe like what a typical day is. You have hip dysplasia, you don't want to go to the doctors, you're kind of fed up with everything.
Hmm.
You haven't been, they haven't proposed the surgery yet. So kind
Hmm.
of like what was a typical day for you?
Just kind of a lot of listening to my body, listening like, okay, I stand up for too long, I need to sit down. Or I sit down for too long, I need to stand up and stretch my legs. I need to like always driving. If we will drive anywhere more than 2 hours, we need to stop. Like more than 3 hours, I was already in pain. And also on car rides, I had to make sure I had my icy hot patches. I had to make sure I have my Tylenol with me, extra strength Tylenol just to kind of keep up, take it routinely too, so I don't have a flare up, and um, kind of make sure, keep an eye on it because even though I will take all those preventive measures, I will still be swollen or aching at the end of the day. A lot of it was just deep bone aches and then muscle aches from like just being weak and constantly putting that pressure on my hips that it was just not prepared for. Um, and so yeah, the icy hot patches would go from like the middle of my thigh to my lower back because just that entire area would get so inflamed, and that was where the pain was at. But yeah, a lot of it was just listening to my body, um, being careful in the car. I have a car seat, like by a car seat, I mean like a cushion in the back so I can stay comfortable. So I have a lumbar pillow back there. Um, Putting my feet up a lot for the swelling. Um, I can't think what else, but yeah, I have just like the lumbar pillow. Once I got it, that made a huge difference for car rides for me because once it started getting to worse up to my surgery, I couldn't like if I didn't have a pillow, I would have like a rolled up blanket right behind my back just so I can have that back support. Um, but I always had to have something with me, especially those icy hot patches helped me so much, just cooling down the muscle and stuff.
So between the pain, dealing like socially with being someone who had a physical disability, the doctor's not listening to you, like which of those would you say was the worst thing for you?
Um, I would just, I think because I was so young, I didn't know how to say like it's bad. Like I want to do something about it, but also at the same time, it was like I don't know enough about this. Like these are my doctors. They know the best for me. And I'm kind of grateful I didn't have the surgery and I did wait. But at that time, it's so frustrating to be told no, no, no. Because I felt like at that point we were going routinely to the doctor and seeing tons of different doctors, but all the answers were the same. And yeah, like in hindsight, I understand where they're coming from, but somebody in pain doesn't want to hear no, we can't do nothing for you.
Mhm. How often did you have a day without pain at all?
Oh, it was I would have my moments. So because I have bilateral hip dysplasia, one's always compensating for the other. So if my right leg hurts, my left leg is taking it all. I have 2 days with no pain, and then my right leg starting to hurt, and I have to carry myself on the other side. Um, so it was just a constant pattern like that. If anything, I'll have like 2 days, but again, up to my surgery, it was nothing was helping. Medicine, I say hot patches, resting. I got a lot of muscle relaxers too. I did muscle relaxers, nerve medication, and injections up starting like at the end of um the non-surgery part.
Mhm.
um Pre-op, I should say. Yeah, I had all that stuff, but none of it was working for me. It was a constant day-to-day pain. And like the only way I would go to sleep is with muscle relaxers. So I can finally relax and go to sleep without worrying about pain. Or if I moved, like my muscle will tense up or something.
So you started talking about that day where like your legs locked up and you kind of told your parents like this is it, you can't do this
Mhm.
anymore. So then you went to
Yes.
the doctors. You went to the doctor, and then how did it? What happened next after that?
Yes, so like I said earlier, the doctor, I've saw him before, so he already had my files, had my x-rays of before. We got x-rays then, so it was a before and now. Hip dysplasia is still there, and he's like, I know there's a tear in there, but we had to get an MRI just to make sure. And sure enough, there was a tear in there. And the response was the same, was, oh, not that's the same, but the response was like we can fix this tear, but you have to go see this other doctor to do this hip reconstruction surgery because this is just going to keep happening to you. The way my bones are, it's inevitably going to be like, it's going to cause issues for me.
And so they told you at that point that they recommended the bilateral surgeries.
Yeah, so the PAO, they recommended the PAO, and it's just focusing on one hip at a time. So he knew the other doctor he was recommending me, and he, not even kidding, just moved to our area, and he's like, yeah, I think he was, I don't know where he's from, but he's from states away. His family hasn't even moved over with him. And
Wow.
he's like, yeah, I'm just setting up the place. Like, I'm gonna move my family next week, but after that, I'm pretty much free because he's so new.
Hmm.
And he's one of, like, he said his mentor who taught him this surgery is the one who invented this surgery. So
Oh
this is
wow.
all really new. Um, and I saw him, I was able to see him the next day because again, he's new in the area, does high tech hip surgeries. So I don't know how many people need those, but it was nice I got to see him the next day, and he spent an hour just explaining the whole surgery, like, and the recovery, and just making sure like I'm a good candidate for the surgery and everything lined up. So next thing I know, a month later, I have two surgeries booked, um, back to back. Back to back, I mean like one at the beginning of the month and the other.
Mhm.
So it's the labrum surgery at the beginning of the month, the PAO at the end of the month, and PAO is a 6 months recovery process. Um, and I'm going to school at this time. I'm a junior, and because of everything, I have to move back home and kind of just have my parents help me recover because there's no way I could live by myself and do this. So my life when I had um, a job, I was going to school full time, I was part of clubs on campus, to back home with none of that, just at home with my parents helping me recover because my hips became my entire world. Like recovery was everything. So it was a huge change and difference.
So
Yeah.
what sort of emotions did you experience like before the surgery as you were preparing for it?
Yeah, so I heard about it like when they would talk about the Colorado surgery. I knew what the hip reconstruction was, but it was so new. It was like that's not gonna be me. Like I don't need that. Like in my head, I just need the labrum surgery and then I'll be on my way. I can go back to school in the fall, and that's what I really hoped for. And they told me, no, you're gonna need this whole surgery, and it was just like I think I more was in nesting mode. Like I need this for my surgery. Like I rearranged my room, I got the right equipment I needed, and like it was kind of more focusing on the planning. I wasn't really like hit
Patient
me.
focus
Yes.
instead of thinking about your
Exactly.
emotions.
Yes, exactly. So I was just um I yeah, I was more like just getting ready for the surgery until it actually happened. um That that was a lot. The first 2 weeks, I don't even remember from the PAO because it was so much. But the labrum, it was difficult. It's a surgery, so your body takes a toll, and you feel like you just had COVID, honestly, and like your whole body's weak. And this is my first time on crutches ever, so I'm learning that, but I'm getting into it. Like, the thing that sucked, I had my first surgery was exactly a year ago. So it's summertime and I'm seeing everybody in the pool and I'm just out there. It was kind of like that movie Misery where he's like in the wheelchair watching the snow. It was me watching everybody swim and stuff. Um, but it's fine. I still felt like myself until the PAO. That everything changed after the PAO.
And when did you have that one?
The PAO was at the end of, so I had my surgery early July and the PAO was late July. So it was only 4 weeks in between. We did go on vacation the week before. We went to San Diego and I just had it since I was still recovering for the labor surgery. We rented a wheelchair so I can get everywhere. It was really nice. And I feel like that made a big difference before my surgery just to get out because I was going to be home for the next month, not leaving
Yes.
the house.
So then after that, what kind of emotions were going through you at that point as you were trying to recover?
Trying to recover. So I was at the hospital for a couple days. Not the staff was great. They like everybody was so caring. I just because I learned that this surgery was one of the first, like I think the first like the third or fourth time they ever done this surgery in this hospital. So the communication wasn't there in between different teams and my pain was so bad. Like it was worse pain. You know, when they asked you 10 out of 10, it was a 10. And just moving from room to room, I didn't have the right medications that I needed at the time. Um so I became traumatized. I was so like I didn't want to move. I was scared. Like even they're like, okay, you have to move to like get your muscles working and kind of promote that healing process. And I didn't want to. Um just I was so scared to come back home for the ride back home because it was 3 hours for us to get home. Um and just even here going from my bed to the bathroom, I would take a wheelchair, and I didn't even want to go. I would wait till the last minute because every little movement hurt, and that's just I was just so scared of everything. Like it made me really feel fearful of just moving. And then my muscles, my back, like I said, my back tries to compensate a lot for my hips. And I'm not moving. So this is like still week 6 of recovery. And my back is just taking a toll because it's trying to compensate, but I'm not moving. So how is it going to get strength in the exercise it needs? And for the first 6 weeks, you can only do like wiggle your toes, flex your thigh or just the foot stuff so it can promote blood flow. And I was weak. I was weak, scared. I didn't I didn't have motivation to do anything because I was so scared to do anything. So it kind of like my wants to like, oh, let me go to the living room and watch TV with my family. It's like, mom, you have to come to my room because I am not going out there. Definitely affected the way I handled things afterwards.
So how did you push through that?
Um, Eventually, like uh, 6 weeks is when you have that big appointment where you go in, they show you X-rays, and I'm a visual learner always, so seeing like, oh, it's healing, like, oh, it looks right. I think kind of like did something in my head like, okay, this is worth it. Like once it's all healed, it's gonna look way better and you're gonna feel way better. It's just the before and after, just like, okay, wait, this is for something. So that definitely helped me.
So how did your family help and support you
Mhm.
getting through this
Yes, so um
ordeal?
yeah, my like the first surgery, because I was at school when I got that I was still at school when I got that, not notification, but when we found out I would need all this. So my parents told everybody here. And so after my first surgery, I was just like flooded with flowers in my rooms, had a bunch of treats and stuff. So, and then after my first surgery, I was like, I got this. I'm gonna be snacking all summer. And but it was the second one, the PAO, where it just really it affected me a lot because I'm like, I don't even want to eat that. Like to sit up to eat, I don't want to do that. And then, but eating is such a big thing of recovery. Your body needs nutrients. You're like, I needed protein because they opened my muscles up. Like I need to get that healed, like everything healed. So the first, my since my parents work, they were both off the first 2 week, and anything I need because they knew I would get the first. Like I was so traumatized from the hospital and moving and stuff that they helped me. But again, I'm getting frustrated being in my room, so my brother was set up pillows kind of like a throne in the living room so I can sit down comfortably and stuff. So that helped. Just a little stuff like that of like, oh, my mom comes in and we watch her show. Like she was very adamant, like, oh, we need a show together, like to
Mhm.
get me through. And so sometimes what would get me through is, okay, next week is that next episode, and then I'll watch that. It's like, oh, we already watched 4 weeks of episodes, so I've done a month of recovery. So it's a small motivations, and eventually my parents did have to go back to work, and so my cousin took a week off and take care of me. Then my brother took a week off to take care of me, and I don't think I should have been alone at that time. Even like I couldn't physically do stuff, but then I think I would just get in my head like I can't do anything, wouldn't be able to do anything, just that fearfulness. But um, my brother is like, oh, well, come watch me work out. Or my cousin would be like, oh, I have a puzzle over here. So they helped me get out of bed and kind of um, show me that, oh, you could get out of bed. Like, it's okay. Like, if you need a rest, we can always go back. And so that definitely helped me with the motivation as well.
So, for someone who is young like you, going through something so difficult and such a big challenge, like what sort of advice or tips would you give them in order to be able to get through something like that?
Yeah, patience, I know, and I honestly, it bugs me so much when somebody's like, "Oh, it's only temporary." It's like you're not going through this, so it's not like it doesn't feel temporary. But once, because I'm already on my second round, so I'm on my fourth surgery right now. I had the PAO on both sides, the labor on both sides, and I'm recovering. But the fact that I saw that I was able to do it once, it's like, oh, I can do it again. And so if somebody has to go through multiple surgeries like I did, it's like, well, you did it before, so you have to do it again. Like, if anything, you just got better at doing it, just like practice. So, it gets better with practice. And since I grew up doing sports and swim, it's like, oh, I did get better if I keep doing it. Or like the physical therapy, you see yourself, and it's like, look at those moments where, like, oh, you have like I wasn't able to do this 2 weeks ago, and like now I am, and just celebrate the small victories is definitely like it's rewarding. Like once you see it that way, then you want to do the next, like have your goal, and you want to achieve the next goal, even if it's so small. Like right now, I just moved from my wheelchair to my walker. And that's a huge deal, especially I'm doing it faster than I did it last time. So it's just because I know I could do it and I'm in while I'm progressing.
So where exactly are you in your process of surgeries or treatment and recovery?
I'm sorry. What you got really low there. Can
Yes,
you hear me?
yes. It is a little bit more difficult to hear you, but yes.
Hello?
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay,
Yes.
good. I think you connected to somebody's AirPods.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh wait. Okay. I'm sorry, what was the question?
So where are you in the process of surgeries and treatment and recovery?
Okay, yeah. So out of this whole process, because I do have bilateral hip dysplasia, I had to get the labrum and the PAO done on each side, and that's four surgeries altogether. And in the hip reconstructions, they put screws in your hips. So I got four surgeries now, and I have one more hopefully in December where I get the screws removed. Um, so I'm more than halfway done, and I got the hardest part is like in the past. I don't have to be dealing with that anymore.
So who is Sophia today? And do you think that you would be the same person if you never had to deal with any of these physical challenges?
Definitely not. Like, I know people don't want their like the hard parts in their life to define themselves, but mine do. I am a public health major at school and I hopefully graduate next year, but my whole career is going to be devoted to helping people in my situation. I'm not going to be a doctor or anything, but there's a lot of people along the way, like even just booking the surgeries, like I feel like they could tell I was nervous, so they helped me like give me that reassuring voice. So I want to be that reassuring voice for somebody in the future, um, and help them through the process. So I'm definitely defined and I will devote like my life's work and my career to what I had to deal with and because of what I had to deal with. And like I said, as a teenager, I was very unpatient, but I've learned patience in this um, part of my life, and especially with recovery. It's been over a year and I'm still in recovery. Um, so it's taught me a lot of patience, giving myself grace, um, celebrating the small things. And yeah, I feel like that's a lot of lessons that I should continue to keep with me, even though I'm not, hopefully, not no more surgeries and dealing with my pain from my hip dysplasia anymore.
And so, to people who don't really understand invisible disabilities or, challenges that people face that aren't clear,
Mhm.
maybe just by looking at someone, what would you say to them?
I would say like how in high school they didn't understand, but those who just asked, and like I for me, if anybody asked me like, oh, why aren't you doing that, or like, are you okay, or like, what is hip dysplasia, I would always be willing to give you an explanation. And I understand not everybody will, but you ask, not just like, you can't just give yourself grace, but you have to give everybody else grace. Like you don't know where they're coming from. Perspectives is a lot, and like that's what I'm learning. Like, oh, I didn't see it this way. Like I didn't see like the surgery being like this, well, a couple years ago when it was this brand new thing, and now on my second time doing it, and I feel so much better. Or seeing people, I connected with people on Instagram too doing my same surgeries. And it's just keeping that awareness about you. And like i I get it having like this type of surgery, but I wouldn't get something else, like a different type of surgery. um but I can give them grace, I can give them like somebody who is willing to listen. And I feel like if you can't see it, but somebody's like acting not normal, but like is walking when they should be running, just give them the benefit of the doubt. You really don't know what's going on until you ask.
And I actually do, in the workshops that I talk about kindness, that's one of the things I talk about. You don't really know what someone else is
Mhm.
going through, like
No,
ever.
exactly.
Whether you can see it or not.
Hmm. No,
So,
exactly.
how would you describe Sophia in 3 words?
Um, Now I would say I'm patient. I'm oh my gosh, just I had the word for it. I'm eager, because I'm eager to accomplish my goals and I'm eager to use my experiences for the better in the future. And I, what's the other word? I kind of, oh my goodness, I had the word and I forgot it. I'm eager, I'm patient, and I would like to say I'm encouraging because back then not having an answer and always being no and getting no, no, no. And now it's like, oh wait, like this what I didn't even see this in my future. So um I would like to be encouraging and I would say I am now.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want people to know about you or your story, or just any bit of advice that you want to give them?
Uh-huh. No, it's just like my main thing is just if you don't understand why somebody's acting a certain way or why they are not participating to the fullest, it could be as simple as just having a bad day or like having an indivisible that word not able to see their disability. You just never know. So um like just give somebody grace is my biggest thing, and like those who given me grace and patience and been encouraging and all the things that I am now, it gave me that back then, have helped me so much. And so if you could be that for somebody, it's more than you know.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Sophia.
Thank
If
you.
anyone watching has any questions or comments for Sophia, feel free to go to my website, Life Coaching by Andrea. My email is there. You get me a message, then I will get it to her. So until next time, though, I am wishing everyone kindness, courage, and hope. Thank you so much, Sophia.
Thank you.